Good morning. I'm George Latimer, Westchester County Executive. Welcome to Kensico Dam Plaza, where we're here for a memorial to celebrate the life and times of Lawrence Otis Graham, an individual who's a friend to many of us and a public servant and an individual of great respect for those who knew him and loved him here in Westchester County. I'm joined by a number of people who we'll be hearing from in a few seconds, including our Deputy County Executive, Ken Jenkins, the Chair of the Board of Legislators, Vedat Ghashi. We're going to be joined in a few minutes by the Leader of the New York State Senate, Andrea Stewart-Cousins, and we have the pleasure of having Senator Pete Harckham from that body with us here to say a few words. And then also we'll have some comments from a longtime friend of Lawrence, Elizabeth Radow, and we hope to have perhaps a few other speakers, depending on their schedules of arrival that we're still waiting for. Let me recognize some of the other people who have joined us here today. In addition to Vedat Ghashi, the Chair of the Board of Legislators, we're joined by Westchester County Legislator Catherine Parker. Please stand so everybody can see who you are. Westchester County Legislator Jewel Williams-Johnson is also with us here. And as other members arrive, we'll make sure that we recognize them as well. We almost have a quorum for a meeting of the commissioners of our Westchester County Executive Departments. And this is a testament to the work of Lawrence Graham, that so many people knew him and loved him. We're joined here by certainly the Commissioner of Parks and Recreation and Conservation, Kathy O'Connor. This is her house that she's allowing us to be in. We have with us the Commissioner of the Department of Emergency Services, Richard Wishney. We have our acting commissioner of the Department of Public Safety, the county police, work very closely with Lawrence in his capacity, Terrence Rayner. And we have the commissioner of the Department of Social Services, Leonard Towns, is with us. We also have with us the person who currently chairs our Police Advisory Board, Leroy Frazier. I can see that we're being joined as well by the Vice Chair of the Board of Legislators, the Honorable Nancy Barr, is with us this morning. I want to recognize that we have Lila Curtin, Assistant District Attorney for the County of Westchester. Lila, thank you for being here on behalf of District Attorney Mimi Roca and in her own behalf. We have a number of people on our executive team that I want to recognize. Chris Steers is with us, Crystal Collins, Ellen Hendricks, Aviva Meyer. I may be missing a few. I'm using the quickest site that I can, but there are many people that have interacted with Larry, and we all wanted to be here today for this. There is a large number of people here who know Lawrence through different parts of his life, but I see there's a tremendous turnout from the law firm, Cuddy and Fader, that he made his career with. So all of those who served alongside of Lawrence in that firm, please stand to show the respect that you've given your colleague in his professional career. Bill Noll and Joe Carlucci and so many others that are here with us as well. This celebrates a life, and unfortunately sometimes I think we all recognize that when the journey is over is when we assess it and we begin to really appreciate it, when in fact we should appreciate it while it's being lived. I first met Lawrence on the campaign trail. I was 30 years ago this summer. I was campaigning for a second term of the Westchester County Board of Legislators, and I had a little slice of White Plains in my district, and I was campaigning, going door to door on one of the streets south of Rosedale, and I rang the doorbell, and behind that doorbell was Lawrence Graham, his wife Pamela, and I had the opportunity to meet them just as, hi, I'm George Ladd, I'm running. I had no idea who he was, and I had no idea how our lives would interact over the course of these next 30 years. And so many other people have those stories to tell. The gentlemen who served as his roommates in college and law school are with us here today. One of his classmates from junior high school at the Highlands, junior high school in White Plains. They call it middle schools now, but they called them junior high schools when I was younger. David Schaefer is here. There's people who've known him throughout the course of his life. And I think that is the greatest tribute of a person, that you're seen not only as the person you are in one context, but you've been that consistent person over all of these years and loved by so many of us. And that's why we're here today. His family is very much with us in spirit. We know that the schedule being what it is, we hope to have them join us. but the family of Westchester County is here, as I've made the point of introducing all these people. Officially, he served this county most recently as chair of the Westchester County Police Board. He served on our Police Reform and Reimagining Task Force, which we impaneled, that came up with a series of recommendations, some of which now we've been implementing, such as the Mental Health Crisis Response Team. This was part of Lawrence's work alongside of other people that helped benefit the county that we live in. He'd done many other things in his life. He was a terrific author, and he wrote books that really moved individuals as he spoke of his life as an African American in a world in which African Americans were not accepted as equals and were treated as subservient and as the other. And when he put articulate words to that, he spoke for so many people that had served in certain kinds of jobs that could not express it the way he could. And he brought that experience to life. He had the opportunity to run for the Congress of the United States. Any of us who've run for office know that that is a turmoil and a torture unto itself. And he went through that fire during his time, and it gave him a chance to run over a large disparate part of this county and some neighboring counties, and he brought passion and articulateness to that race for Congress. There's so many different elements of his life, and we hope that here at the Graham Garden and Memorial, people will come by from years now. They'll look and they'll see a name, and someone will say, "Who was this person? What did he do?" And because we do have electronic means now of finding out about people fairly quickly, that somebody will study the life of Lawrence Otis Graham, and he will come alive again to that person who passes by this memorial and sees the name and understands that where is a memorial now was once a human being. Was once a human being who contributed to the world around him, loved and was loved, and accomplished things that stand as a testimony to those of us who've known him. Let me invite Ken Jenkins, our Deputy County Executive, to share his thoughts at this memorial event. Ken.
Thanks, George. This is a tremendous day and a tremendous recognition and honor for a young man that did so many things for all of us here in Westchester County. I want to make sure that we recognize and we ask Larry's children to come up and sit down in the front. You certainly don't have to. No, okay, that's fine, right? We want to make sure that we recognize they are here, right? And let's come on, let's give the love for family, right? And Larry has touched so many of us, and between seeing the people in the crowd and the different individuals and organizations and things that have been touched, and whether it's from his Jack and Jill family, whether it's from his family that's just connected to so many other organizations, to the members of the Boulay that are here as well, and making sure that the family members are recognized. But on top of all of those things, the things that Lawrence did and worked so passionately towards, and whether it was the police board or whether it's just in the law firm, whether it's the writings and the tremendous opportunities that we got to see from members of the club, and to be able to talk about things that happened in Martha's Vineyard, and watching the series as it rolled out and the work that he was doing right before he passed. We know that Lawrence's experience is here, and this memorial, this garden, the Graham Garden, is going to be a good testament and a tremendous testament to the life and the legacy that Lawrence Otis Graham had for all of us. So again, it's so great for everyone to be out here today and in this recognition, and we all are going to continue to mourn and to recognize and represent for Lawrence Otis Graham. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Ken. Lawrence's reputation influenced many in elected office, particularly those not just at the county level, but at the New York State level. We have with us here a proclamation on behalf of Senator Shelley Mayer. In his recognition and honor, Shelley couldn't be with us today. She's attending a family health issue outside of the city, but outside of the county. But it represents all of the different accomplishments that Lawrence had, and we're going to present this for the family. But I'm going to leave it here so that we can all appreciate this proclamation. And I'm going to invite Senator Pete Harcum, who has represented Lawrence as a legislator, but more importantly as a friend, as someone who's worked together in collegial efforts. Senator Pete Harcum.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much, George. Good morning, everybody. I knew Larry for over 20 years. I met him on his first campaign. I was his communications director. And after that race, every race I was involved in, Larry was involved in. And he was a loyal friend. And George talked about Larry was a fierce warrior for social justice, for racial justice, for equity. That was the public Lawrence. The private Lawrence was one of an incredibly caring person. First and foremost, he cared deeply about his family and his children, and he cared about other people. So as I said, every campaign I had, Lawrence was involved. He would come over to my house and spend a full day to strategize. And half the time he spent with my daughters, talking to them about how they were, what was going on in their lives. And when we spoke by phone, the first thing out of his mouth was, "How are the girls doing?" And he cared deeply. The other thing that many people don't know is he had a real mischievous streak. You know, campaigns, as some of us know, are one part science, one part hard work, and a little bit of mischief. And Larry and I had a lot of laughs over the years about things that we could do on the campaign trail that we thought would tilt things in our favor that probably didn't, but would get under the skin of our opponents. And Lawrence loved to do that. He absolutely loved to. So I miss Larry every day. I think about him, you know, as things come up in the Senate and our public lives. You know, how would Larry have handled this? You know, he had great advice. He was wise beyond his years. He had a keen instinct for not only politics, but how to respond to certain situations. But it was the caring Larry that I will always remember. And so this garden is such a fitting tribute. And I want to thank everyone involved, from the county executive, the deputy county executive, the board, the parks department, all of the people who are inspired to create the garden, where we can come and we can reflect on Larry's life. And we all have our own experiences and our own memories. And this is a beautiful place where we can come and just reflect and remember him and be inspired by him. So thank you very much, all of you, for being here. God bless, Larry.
Thank you, Senator Pete Harckham. So we've received a proclamation from Senator Shelley Mayer and a few words by Senator Pete Harckham. Let us now bring on the leading senator, not just of our county, but of the state of New York, the majority leader of the New York State Senate, our friend and our ally and our protector in the state government, Senator Andrea Stewart-Cousins. Thank you, dear.
Thank you so much. He could say all those things because we've known each other for so many years and have had opportunities to celebrate together and to grieve together. We were on the county legislature when 9/11 happened. I mean, we've been through a lot together, and I think the common thread with the county executive and the deputy county executive and my colleagues in the Senate and everyone here is that there were things that we could all agree on, and that certainly was the impact of Larry Otis Graham on all of us. For me, as a black woman, new in politics, Larry reached out to me. And he made sure that I understood that he was there, that he was moving in circles and had broken barriers, had shattered expectations of everybody for somebody like him. And he was really okay with that. And he was okay with me. I didn't grow up like that. I didn't even know, quite honestly, that there was this kind of black elite. Who knew? But when you know that, and then you meet somebody who will extend a hand and say, you know, I know this is in you, but who you are and who I am is perfectly okay, and let me share a little of that world, and let me also, and I think he was always surprised, when, although he had traveled in those circles, he wound up having his children subjected to things that he thought would have been transcendent because of where he'd been and who he was and how he'd proven. So he was always not knocked down by those things, but understood that the conversation, the books, the essays, the imagery in every single part of how we could reach people were necessary, because still the understanding had not been achieved by all. People who you assumed should know better and people who didn't know better. Larry was a communicator. He was an educator. He was somebody who was relentless in the most pleasant way, because with all of the education that he was doing, sometimes it could be very difficult. People don't want to hear this. It's like, oh no, or here comes this angry guy again. That was never him. Even as a pundit for the Democratic Party or whatever, he'd be fighting with the Republican, but it was always amicable. It was always something that at the end of the day, you felt like, okay, everybody had their say, and it was good. So to have a garden where people, and I really want to thank the county and parks, and I'm sorry for that, I didn't see you, the chair of the board. I want to thank everybody, and certainly the family. We continue to miss him, but to have a beautiful reflection of the diversity, the richness, the joy of his life right here. And now it's my district. The county executive failed to mention that actually this is my district now, so I'll have to, but there's actually lines, So I will be here again to reflect on those wonderful moments as well. And so thank you so much, County Executive, for letting me participate in this, and thank you.
Thank you very much, our friend, State Senator Andrea Stewart-Cousins. Next, I'd like to invite Vidat Gashi to share a few thoughts. He is the new chair of the Board of Legislators. As I mentioned, we've had other members of the legislature who are here, and this being a county park, this is part of the board and the executive branch together, coming together to honor Lawrence Graham.
I knew Larry Graham less well than some of the people that spoke before, and will speak coming up, but I was introduced to Larry relatively early in his career. When he ran for Congress, I was an intern on his campaign. That was one of my first jobs in politics. Obviously, I'm aware of his intelligence and passion, but what always struck me was the kindness and compassion which he was able to convey those things. He was a monumental figure to so many, and in Westchester, I think it's incredibly fitting that we honor that that legacy in a park, and I am incredibly honored to be here today to be a part of that. Thank you so much.
Next, I'd like to make sure that we offer out the opportunity to share personal reminiscences at a moment like this. Elizabeth Radow, a friend of Lawrence for many years, talked to me about the idea of doing this at the very early stages of grief. And we thought it was the right thing to do. And we're happy that she, members of the family, and others were able to help us take an idea and crystallize it into a physical location. And Beth, as we know her, wants to share some of her thoughts. We're very happy to have her share her thoughts at a moment like this. Beth Radow.
Senator Stewart-Cousins, I don't know if you remember, but Larry connected us. I'm the president of the League of Women Voters previously, but I chair the luncheons every year. And I picked up the phone one day to Larry and I said, we need a great speaker. And Senator Stuart Cousins came. We have a lot of our wonderful speakers here today. Please indulge me. I am not really a seasoned public speaker, so I write my words, and I hope that that's okay. County Executive Latimer, Pamela, Gordon, Lindsay Harrison, distinguished guests, good morning. Today, as a community, we come together to show our love and gratitude for the life and legacy of Westchester County resident Lawrence Otis Graham with the dedication of Graham Garden. Family, friendship, democracy, and community are life's pillars. Family nurtures our very being. Friendship calls on us to be our best selves, to share, establish trust, and support one another. True democracy makes possible freedom of expression and the opportunity to accomplish our goals. Community provides the human connections that fortify our lives. Lawrence Otis Graham, Larry, to many of us here, understood the importance of family, friendship, democracy, and community in the most authentic and complete way, to the enrichment of the many lives that he touched. Like Larry and County Executive George Latimer, I am a Mount Vernon native, and that connection had a bonding effect during the summer between Larry's second and third years at Harvard Law School, when he interned at the Manhattan law firm of Weil, Gotshal and Manges, where I was the real estate associate in charge of our department's summer program. My role was to make the experience positive. Little did I know then that my assignment would result in one of my life's most meaningful and enduring friendships. Life in our 20s is filled with aspiration. Larry was no exception, but what set Larry apart was his bold pursuit of racial equity in all settings at a time when this was just not done in polite society. Larry was always polite, but he matched that grace with the uncompromising courage to expose bigotry that impeded so many from having a seat at the table or even the ability to catch a cab. Larry's prolific writing on race drew attention to issues we discuss more openly today, and we have Larry to thank for that, for paving the way. Member of the club is the compilation book I remember most from Larry's early work on the topic, and please read it if you haven't. During his career as a lawyer and author, Larry was invited to sit at many an important table, yet he stayed true to himself and continued to show up for democracy. Larry's political commentary on News 12, his public service intended to maintain and improve our democracy, imbued with his kind nature, made Larry a Westchester original, a spectacular original. Always busy, but not one to refuse help, helping somebody who asked for a hand or guidance toward a seat at the table. When I suggested to George Latimer creating an outdoor space where people could gather, become inspired by Larry's example, and carry it on into the future, he agreed wholeheartedly. County Executive Latimer's leadership made Graham Garden possible. Thank you. And thanks to all in the county who brought Graham Garden to life. Special thanks to Ken Yulee, with whom I collaborated on the garden's design. Bruce Cahan, a friend of ours from Weil Gotshal days, suggested including Larry's image on the dedication stone, which we'll see soon. And it was a request that Ken Yulee embraced as a first for Westchester, making this space all the more special. And so it is for us to share into the future. Larry teased me about my tendency to bring fresh fruit to share on special occasions. And so on this special occasion, I brought tangerines. I hope you will all enjoy. Thank you.
Thank you, Beth. I'd like to open up the mic and invite any of you who have a special remembrance for Larry that can share it. It always is a little difficult to touch on these things in an emotional moment, but I think the rest of us benefit from any of you who feel comfortable sharing a story or a remembrance or a connection. So the mic is open. If you're interested, please come up here and obviously introduce yourself and what your connection is. Let me also point out, and this is my tip of the hat to the working press that shows up no matter what the topic is, and we appreciate that, is that we have representatives of the press who are here, and I'm sure they would be interested in your stories. If you're not comfortable in the microphone in front of everybody, I'm sure that they'll write an interesting story or film an interesting story that has that personal attention. Because this is not just about what a government does. This is about what human beings do to respect the life of another human being. So would anybody wish to share their story, please come up. Don't be shy. We're happy to have you do it. And just introduce yourself to everybody so they know who you are and what your connection is, and please.
So my name is David Schaefer, and I've known Larry since my family moved to White Plains, my mother and my two brothers, products of divorce. And I was astounded by his friendship early on, and his family's friendship to my mother, who was in a very difficult place. They showed me things, both Larry and his parents and his brother, that really opened my eyes to a lot of things in the world. And the most important one was friendship. And the most important one, quite frankly, was friendship not based on skin color. We had a lot of commonalities, and that had nothing to do with it. I miss him terribly. I lost track of him for a little bit when we had gotten out of law school, and reconnected most recently and most thankfully over the past several years. And it's a true blessing that I was able to do that. And I think that this is a tremendous memorial, and I thank you all.
Anybody else wish to share a personal remembrance? Please, come on up. Catherine Chaffee will queue up the next speaker, but ma'am, the microphone is yours. Just introduce yourself.
Hello, I'm Catherine Heinz. I first met Larry in the fall of, or I guess maybe even August of 2003 at the kindergarten orientation for the Horace Mann School. And I just wanted to say he was an outstanding and model and wonderful parent. And I enjoyed all of the activities I did with Larry at the school, including the annual fund drive every year up until my younger child graduated. And he just had so much exuberance, and I wanted to make sure that I shared how much I loved watching him as a parent, because it inspired me to be such a better parent. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Gordon Ward, and I am an ambassador from the Ward family. Not only was I a friend of Larry's, but my brother Jay went to Harvard Law School with Larry, and my brother Jay is Gordon's godfather. And on behalf of the Ward family, I just wanted to say how much we miss Larry. Larry was a good friend of ours. He was a great friend to my mother and to my brother Jay. Jay always likes to say how he was the one that introduced Pam and Larry. The differences about the history of that story, but since Jay couldn't be here today, I just want to say on behalf of the Ward family, Larry, we love you and we miss you. And to the Graham family, Ward family is still here for you. Bye.
Anyone else who wishes to be heard, let's do it now, and then I will close it out after the last few speakers. Thank you. And then we'll go to Bill.
Sure. Good morning. My name is Judith Riggs, and I'm delighted to be here to this garden that is commemorating the life of Lawrence Otis Graham. I've known Larry as I've affectionately known him, for more than 30 years. I'm not going to go through all of the different experiences, but everything that was said today, first, of course, professionally, we know he was a role model, right? Not just a role model for African Americans, but I'd like to say a role model, okay, for society. Okay, so how do you achieve? How do you have aspirations and dreams and achieve at the highest levels? How do you do it? And quite frankly, Larry'd be very happy to tell you how. It's not like he'd keep it a secret, okay? So I can't even find the words. Larry's a dear friend, okay? So Larry, I look to him professionally, I look to him socially, I look to him every single step that I've made. You can better believe that I've consulted with Larry. Up until the week before he died, we had quite a few conversations, and quite a few things he said to me. Of course, I had no idea. The week actually was Friday and died on Monday, but that's another story. He molded and shaped my life, okay, and still does. Every day I say to myself, if I have to make a major decision, WWLS, what would Larry say? And of course, I was a former president of Jack and Jill of Westchester. We honored him at our 50th anniversary, he and Pamela, Thomas Graham. And he was, I know that you know him because he's written so many marvelous books, and of course he's had a wonderful, he's the film, but I know you see him, and you may see him as some people see him in different lights. Some people think he's, I don't know, some kind of, I don't know what, but what you must understand is, well, I'm just keeping it real, and I can, I'm my authentic self. But I'm here to tell you that underneath what you might think the height of bourgeoisie, yeah, that's true. But you must keep in mind, he's a Harvard-trained and a Princeton-trained educator. He can write. He can spin whatever he wants. Keep that in mind. Just because you spin whatever you want, that doesn't mean that that's... I'm not saying that there's a dichotomy. I'm not saying that. But you have to, as an academic, I guess this is the Dr. Judith Riggs talking, as an academic, you have to separate dichotomy. You have to separate what is real, what the person is writing about and trying to depict, what they're trying to bring about, what consciousness they're trying to raise. There are a whole lot of dynamics and interdynamics going on in writing, right? So keep that in mind. But what I was so pleased to hear is you heard about who he was. You could call Larry at 12 o'clock at night and say, Larry, I got a problem. And he could say, you know what? Give me 15 minutes, Judith. I'm going to get a cup of coffee. Let's convene in 15 minutes. And we did just that. So I am overjoyed to see this garden. This is a place, I'm a walker, I'm a traveler. Traveler meaning travel walking. I travel too, but that's not my point here. So during the pandemic, this served as an oasis for me to sort out different things and to figure out next steps, to keep my sanity, and to just enjoy the beauty of nature. And to know that there's a garden here in Larry's honor, I have no words to express but gratitude, sincere gratitude. There is not a day in my life that I don't think about Larry. Thank you for this kind opportunity, and may we live Larry's legacy in whatever part of it that we can connect with, okay? Because the bottom line is he's a beautiful human being that among all of our accomplishments, we should strive to be. Thank you for not being selfish, Larry. He could have been. Could have been, but he wasn't. Thank you.
And we'll invite Bill to complete some of the public sharing of thoughts.
Thank you, George. It's an honor to be here and to pay tribute to Larry, who was a good friend of so many of us here and of our law firm, Cuddy and Fader, where he was a key part for so many years. His integrity, his honesty, moral compass, hopefully will continue to guide us in the right direction that he led us in for so many years. And we're grateful to have had him in our lives and plan to keep him there. So thank you.
In a second, we will unveil the monument to Lawrence and to recognize this memorial garden. Let me just close by saying we've been very fortunate to have yet another beautiful day. And if you've been keeping count, I have 7 straight days of San Diego weather here in Westchester County. So we're pretty darn lucky that we have that. Tomorrow, we're going to learn that nothing lasts forever, according to the weather report. I'll watch it tonight on News 12 and what have you. But the bottom line is nothing does last forever. The things that we treat as important ultimately will not be here. And that comes home to me in a very simple way. I might go to a farmer's market at 10 o'clock in the morning, Larchmont. Catherine and I live in the area near Larchmont. Saturday morning farmer's market. All the tents are out and the people are selling their produce. If you drive past there at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, there's no sign that the market was ever there. It's a parking lot again. Unfortunately, or fortunately, that's the way it is in life. That we come and we pass through. And there is no intrinsic way to recognize that we were once here. This dam that was built behind us was built by countless individuals of talent and skill. And I don't think any of us can name the name of any one of those people that did that. So what do we try to do? We try to recognize that when a life is well lived, and they've had accomplishment, and they've touched us, that we do something to make sure that they know that the life that they lived wasn't lived in vain. And that there is the possibility, not of immortality, because that's not given to us as mortals, but that there is something left behind after we're gone that will reflect that life. And that's what's happened here today for Lawrence Otis Graham. He has family members who will go on and live lives and have children and grandchildren. There are people who served alongside of with him in all these different varieties that will keep a memory to him. But this county that he loved, that he gave so much to, will remember who Lawrence Otis Graham is, who he was, and who he still is to this day in our heart. So I would ask Catherine perhaps to organize who of us are going to stand there. Let us lift the veil of secrecy and have a chance to show our respect for Lawrence Otis Graham. And we know he has a couple of the children are here. We really would like for you to come up for this moment. Please. I think it's important for you to be there to help do this on behalf of your dad. So.